Let's delve into medical law now. You were talking about the National Health Act. To what extent do you think we're even paying attention to that act?
I don't even think most of them know it exists. I don't even think most of them, with due respect.
They passed it?
It's been passed into law since 31st October 2014. And the reality is that most practitioners don't even know it exists. Most practitioners don't even know that they could actually go to jail for some violations there. So, you know, there is need to develop capacity in the health sector as well. There is need, and the Medical Data Council of Nigeria actually provides what they call continuous medical education, which means that you must update yourself with developments in your practice. But unfortunately, we find out there is a paucity of interest, you know, in medical laws. So very soon you find out a lot of practitioners are going to be held accountable. Already, as we speak now, there's a steady and consistent increase in lawsuits against doctors. And now they are beginning to wonder, why are patients suing us? Because the tragedy of it is that even the patients are more aware of their rights than even the practitioners. So now doctors are being railroaded into the courtrooms and tribunals. And it's because a lot of them have not even advised their minds to the existing laws in place.
But what is this then that we hear that by October, health institutions will be shut down if they don't comply with Section 12 and 13 of the National Health Act?
That's part of the tragedy we have. You know, National Health Act provides that there must be certificate of standards issued to health facilities, not only hospitals. So if you're also a diagnostic center, things like that, or blood bank, you need to have what we call certificate of standards. And the law gave 24 months grace. Now, this law was passed by President Jonathan in October last year, in 2014. So by 1st of November, you find out that a lot of hospitals in Nigeria will be practicing, or lots of health facilities will be practicing medicine, or operating and providing legal services illegally. Medical services illegally, because once you do not have a certificate of standards, you should not open your facilities for patients. It's in the law. I didn't write it. It's been there, and lots of practitioners are not aware of this provision. So at times one has to shout it to the high heavens for attention to be drawn to medical law.
Certificates of standards issued by who?
There's supposed to be a committee set up by various ministries of health, which is supposed to actually come and check the facilities you have. Some places call themselves hospitals, and they're glorified car parks. You can't even put your dog in there. So you're supposed to get the certificate of standards, which means that your facilities are intact, which means that your human resources, your staff are properly accredited and licensed, which means that you have the minimum standards required before you can do certain services. So probably you have an ambulance, probably you have oxygen and things like that. And it's just supposed to ensure that everybody, all hospitals in Nigeria have attained the minimum standard requirement. So it's not as if it's when you have a patient there, they start saying that we need to go and get oxygen somewhere, or we don't have an ambulance to convey your patient to another health facility. And I think it's a welcome development. Unfortunately, the tragedy of it is that the practitioners, as we speak now, are unaware.
Yeah, because, you know, before the law came, there were ways of ensuring standards. What's going to happen to state government who constitute health bodies to ensure that, you know, certain standards...
The reality on ground, not all states had proper structures in place.
What about the states who had?
I think it's, aside from Lagos State, I really don't think there's any other state that really has a serious blueprint with respect to ensuring standards. You know, so people open up cottage hospitals everywhere. People open up mushroom facilities everywhere, and you'll be amazed at the kind of operations they claim to do there.
How is this committee supposed to work?
Well, the committee essentially is supposed to, they give practitioners 2 years to meet the requirement, to require standards, have to be technology, they have the adequate technology, you have the equipment, you have the manpower. And I give an example, for example, of the manpower. You'll be amazed that my practice starts from the ambulance driver and could end up at the doorstep of the chief medical director. And there's certain, now a hospital setting is like, it's like an aircraft. Different people do different things, but it is the pilot we know, right? So different people check the oil, check the brake pad, check whatever, but eventually it's the pilot will know. Now, most of these people are certified. The same it is with the health sector. But go to the average hospital in Nigeria today, go to the records department there, and you find that they just have some youth corper or some graduate handling health records. And there are certified boards, for example, for such services. So the requirement is that people who are working in your health sector, in your facility, should be licensed. So your lab technician should be accredited with the regulatory body. The person working in the records unit should be licensed with the regulatory body and things like that. Unless, and also your nurses. So we find out a lot of times as well that we mix qualified and unqualified personnel.
But you know, in the past, we've seen the Medical and Dental Council bogged down with so much to the extent that they don't even have time to attend to some of the challenge before them. I don't know about now, even though some say it's still the case to some extent now. But then, how are we sure, even though in deference to the Minister of Health, he says yes, they were going to do something about anyone who has any complaint. But how are we then sure that this committee wouldn't be bogged down by all of this challenge that we face in this country?
Clearly, I'm beginning to be quite uncomfortable because it even appears as if the regulators, that is the ministries of health, don't even know that these provisions are in the law. So I have not had any precise plan for them to ensure that people comply with the law. Now, before people can comply with the law, it means that you, the person saddled with the responsibility, you put in structures in place. So doctors for now, health providers for now, are not being told that you have only 2 months left to comply with the existing law. It only means that those saddled with the responsibility themselves probably don't even know.
looks like the law is ahead of their preparation.
I guess
it's really, I think this is some of the things, it reminds us of the Passenger Bill of Rights, which we are told is visible in airports across the country, which some people still try to seek and look out for. But with this that you're saying, how can we make every Nigerian, because ultimately, whether you like it or not, every Nigerian is more or less like a patient, because you must at every point in time in your life seek medical help. How can we make them aware of this law, which we haven't
I think the first
explored so far?
I think the first thing first is for the practitioners themselves to be, I call it the need to create a medical legal environment in Nigeria. So you cannot overemphasize.
Don't forget, I'm asking this. Well, you just told us that a lot of them have not been able to put in place some of the things that will make them legally, okay to set up their facility. For instance, there must be some A, B, and C for you to put in place, because there must be someone who's coming to monitor to see if you are okay before you open your medical facility. If you know that there is a clause there in the law books, how else do you think that same medical practitioner would want you to know the existence?
The reality is that they will comply, but the responsibility is on those who are supposed to enforce it, to even show a body language that they actually mean business. So I have no doubt the health facility, because after all, they make their living from there. Absolutely. I have no doubt that they will do the needful. But the first thing first is that we need to create a medical legal environment in Nigeria whereby patients need to understand their rights, particularly practitioners need to understand their rights and also their responsibilities. So we find instances, people with gunshot victims, people with gunshot wounds going to the hospitals, and the hospitals are asking you for the proverbial police permit, which does not exist in the first place. We have issues of people leaking information of patients. I have several clients who go to hospitals, and before they come out of the hospital, one nurse or one fellow working in the hospital has gone on Twitter or social media tweeting that my client has a particular ailment or not. You understand? And that happens every time. So if there is a need for us to create a medical legal environment, that is on the part of practitioners. Now, on the part of Nigerian patients as well, I have no doubt, but Nigerian patients are quite assertive when it comes to their rights. So I have no doubt about people
are you sure of that, though? I mean, even though we're rounding off, but people usually find themselves in a position where they beg when, you know, they feel that they're right, because they do not want to, they know that they are helpless at that particular moment. That's what you find oftentimes.
Statistics have clearly shown that there's a 200% increase in litigations and petitions against Nigerian hospitals in the past, since 1999 till now. 200% increase.
So we're talking about after the deed has been done?
It could be during, it could be before, during, or after. But the essential thing is that patients now have suddenly become quite litigious or quite conscious of their rights. And why is this so? The internet is there. So they say you have high blood pressure. Before even the doctor finishes, they're already going online. People who have schooled abroad before, there's an army of returnees back into the country now who expect the same standards they received abroad here. Don't forget, we also have medical tourism. Nigerians suddenly found out that they could go to India or Ghana, and that the death sentence allegedly mentioned here, you know, they come out with different results abroad. So people have suddenly, and we have middle class as well, and also in the press economy, litigation rises. So people whose fathers have died of negligence, and whose fathers left no inheritance for them, know fully well now that if they sue a doctor, the doctor might actually provide compensation for them if the doctor's action was negligent.
All right, we need to anchor there. Law Science, a medical lawyer. Appreciate your comment on this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's the show as well today. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain or so.
Oh, thank you so much. Should we say Ramadan Mubarak? It's still in order, right?
Yeah, Ramadan Kareem is still very much in order.
Okay, so thank you for watching.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman. I'll let us see you again tomorrow.
I think happy holiday, everyone.